Well, welcome to the South Plaza of McLean Stadium in front of the RG3 statue for the fourth week of the college football season. Kurtis Quillin, sports director at 6 News, alongside the voice of the Bears, John Morris. John, hard to believe, but game count-wise, we're a third of the way through the season after this week.
Holy cow. That's right. After this week, this is game 4 already. And don't you feel like once the season starts, it just rolls, you know?
Right.
And here we are already through 3 games for Baylor, at least, in most schools, and game 4 coming up, and the conference opener this week.
Conference opener this week. You know, there's 2 ways to make me feel like that I woke up and last week was August. And it's when I get to this point in the season. We're a third of the way through the college season, halfway through the high school regular season. It's a long year, but man,
it goes fast.
It goes fast, and it's a lot of fun covering a good team too.
And where does it factor in that it's going to be 100 degrees today on September 21st? Where's Andy?
Where's Andy? Confuses my body.
Yeah, I know. I thought we were done with the hundreds, but here we are again.
We get to final weather last night. He says, I know it's supposed to be fall on Thursday, but you won't know it looking at these temperatures. And I'm like, someone should alert Mother Nature that it is supposed to be fall at this point. So let's go through last week in the Big 12, 9 games in the Big 12 Conference last week. Who most stood out to you in the Big 12? And are you like me? Is it Kansas?
I think you're right. I mean, 3-0. Give them credit. 2 of the 3 are road wins. That's huge. Yeah. You know, not just in the lens of it being Kansas, but that's huge for anybody in this league to be 3-0 and to have 2 quality road wins under their belt already. That's really impressive.
And the way that they beat Houston. Yeah. I was listening to the UH radio broadcast thanks to your friends at Learfield and the Varsity Network app. And just the UH broadcast, they're like, well, we had a 14-0 lead, and this thing's become a blowout in favor of Kansas. And, I mean, they just played well, and Jalen Daniels, he was Mr. Everything for the KU offense.
Yeah, well done by KU. And it's not, to me, it's not smoke and mirrors. I was watching, with Baylor playing an early game last week, I got to go home and watch football the rest of the day.
What's that like?
Yeah, it was nice. You ought to try it sometime. And I was watching that game before they hit the weather delay, and then I switched off and really didn't come back. But it's not smoke and mirrors. I mean, they are legit, really good. Jalen Daniels is just really good, and it's fun to see.
It's very clear why they went with Lance Leipold whenever they had to make the change with Jeff Long and Les Miles in that scandal. Oklahoma 49, Nebraska 14. I was sure impressed with Oklahoma in that one.
Very impressive. I think we talked last week. We thought Nebraska might give a really win one for the Gipper effort, Yeah. And they took a 7-0 lead, but then it was all Oklahoma from that point. So credit the Sooners. I mean, they are really rolling.
Baylor, Texas State, 42-7 for the Bears. Baylor stays at number 17 in the AP poll. What can you really glean from a team that, Texas State, it's not even that they just seemed flat. The offense was having trouble finding rhythm, and that's Jake Spavital's expertise. Yeah,
it's a good win for Baylor. I mean, any win is a good win. Compare it to last year in San Marcos. Game went to the fourth quarter, 29-20 Baylor. This year, 42-7. Defense made some really good stops. Thought the defense for Baylor, especially in the second half, really picked up a level. And maybe that was with Dylan Doyle getting back on the field also in the second half. But the defense did some good things. Really a step forward in the running game for Baylor with that wide zone offense, And Richard Reese obviously was really, really good.
You called your shot with Richard Reese week 1 against Albany. You said, watch out for this guy.
Oh, good.
So pat yourself on the back. That was well done. Did you see that kind of performance coming from him when you were watching practice?
I thought he was good. I thought he was really good, and I think what we talked about was we had backs that were in and out with injuries, and Richard was just getting a lot of carries, but every time he did, and this was in practice, but every time he did, he was really impressive. So really cool to see him get on the field against an opponent and do that kind of performance again.
And he won outright Big 12 Conference Newcomer of the Week for his was it 19 carries or 17 carries?
19 carries, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
So Matt Lively pointed this out when we were taping our sportscast for Saturday night. According to Stat Broadcast, which is the live stat system that Baylor contracts with, most of the NCAA institutions do, Baylor had 8 quote-unquote long plays from scrimmage. That's 10 yards or more on a run, 15 yards or more through the air.
Okay.
Richard Reese had 4 of them.
Okay.
2 of those 4 that Richard Reese had went for touchdowns. A 14-yard score in the first half and a 52-yard score in the fourth quarter.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
He's got speed. He's not big, but he's a little bit bigger than Squirrel, so I think he can take the pounding. And what I'm learning more about him is he was a workhorse at Belleville High School.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was a workhorse and wants the ball and wants to have a ton of carries, and I think he's going to get that opportunity.
I think so. You look at the rest of the Big 12, West Virginia 65, Towson 7. They finally got a win. They needed it.
Needed that.
And now it's one more non-conference game that we'll get to a little bit later, but that 5-day turnaround, I mean, you got to hope they came out of that one healthy.
Yeah, and I think they did. I'm not positive 100%. I watched part of Neil Brown's press conference this week, but I think they did, and against Towson, and with that score, you would sure hope they did.
Oh, for sure.
Before a big one on Thursday night.
Iowa State 43, Ohio 10. Right after we talk about is Iowa State going to have to make games ugly to win? Then they come out and do exactly what they should do against a MAC team that's still trying to find its way out of a long-term head coach and move past the Frank Solich era in Athens.
Right, good win for Iowa State. They're good. There's a lot of similarities that I'm noticing this week between Iowa State and Baylor. Just the way they run the program, what they like to do offensively and defensively. There's a lot of similarities there.
And Dave Aranda talked about that Monday in his press conference. They have a culture where they play really physical. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't beat themselves. They recruit smart kids. And, Hunter Dekkers comes in, and 3 games in, he looks like he's where he should be 3 games into being the starting quarterback. And I'm not sure that I would have said that he'd be at this point just based on the Cyhawk game.
Right.
Tulane 17, Kansas State 10. Let's take a moment for those helmets. No, I did not. Did Kansas State just have trouble with the option, or was that smoke and mirrors at the beginning of the season? What went wrong for the Wildcats?
I don't know. They were coming off a win over Missouri, really big win. We talked about that recruiting-wise and everything, and then kind of just laid an egg against Tulane. So I don't know what that is. I'm pretty sure K-State is better than that.
I'm pretty sure they are too. I wonder if maybe they got caught looking ahead and they said, this is Tulane, this is a non-contender in the AAC, and they got caught looking ahead to Oklahoma this week.
Could be.
So Kansas 48, Houston 30. We talked about that. Jalen Daniels might be everything for the Jayhawks this year.
Yeah, they are really good, and I think they may be legit. I mean, it'll play out. Heard somebody say everything they do from here on out is gravy because they've got 3 wins already. I'm sure they're not looking at it that way.
Oh, no.
They're 3-0, and they just want to keep winning and want to keep playing at a really high level.
And who do we know for certain is better than Kansas in the Big 12?
That's right.
The top half, maybe, because, yes, Kansas is 3-0 with wins over Houston, West Virginia, and Tennessee Tech. But are any of those 3 teams to the level of a Baylor, of an Oklahoma, of an Oklahoma State, of a Texas, or a Kansas State? That Sunflower Showdown this year could actually be, unlike in recent years, a super impactful game.
Yeah, that's true. That'll be fun. Really, really good. I think Lance Leipold, last year just came in came in late, and really was hamstrung last year because he didn't have spring, came in late, putting his staff together. This year, after a full year, maybe you're seeing how good a coach he is.
Yeah, now you're seeing why he won so much at Wisconsin Whitewater and Buffalo. Oklahoma State 63, Arkansas Pine Bluff 7. Nothing really to glean from this one. It was 49-7 at half. And
did you watch that game?
I did not. I watched, what was the night game? I was flipping back and forth between Texas UTSA, Texas Tech NC State, and then A&M Miami.
Yeah.
Because A&M Miami was somehow interesting for being a mostly field goal game in that one. Texas Tech falls at NC State 27-14. The Wolfpack get the win. Bryce Ramirez still in Raleigh for a few days. That's a huge loss.
Yeah, very much so. Hope he's okay moving forward. And for Tech, North Carolina State's good. Give them credit. Playing on their home field. What were they, 14th, I think, last week? 14th or 16th? 16, yeah. And they're good. But Tech looked like they just didn't have that spark, that we had seen the previous week. But again, give North Carolina State credit.
When Drew Hocutt dropped that first punt, you go 3 and out on your first drive. You force the home team to punt. That's a huge win for your defense.
Right.
And when Drew Hocutt dropped that first punt, I thought for sure that it looked like Tech was not prepared for that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. That's that staff's first big-time road atmosphere like that together. It's Joey McGuire's first as a head coach. It's a lot different whenever you're the linebackers coach or the top assistant than it is when you're the guy on the chief headset. And it was the first time that they'd been in an atmosphere like that at night with the expectation to be competitive in an atmosphere like that in how long? Since probably before Matt Wells got there.
Boy, that's probably right. I don't know how long it's been, but again, not a killer. You play well on the road. I mean, you don't get blown out on the road playing against a really good team, so that's not a killer for Texas Tech.
And the fact that drive right after that, they hold the Wolfpack to a field goal, I think they were able to recover nicely, and Tech is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Big 12. Somebody is going to miss a bowl. I don't know who it's going to be because there's a lot of teams with a lot of decent potential, Texas Tech being one of them. Texas 41, UTSA 20. Boy, they sure did in the last game of the night in the Big 12. Drag out who that quarterback was going to be in this one. I don't know if you listened to Craig Way's broadcast, but as they're breaking the huddle, I switched it over from the A&M game specifically to hear the opening kick. And he goes, we still don't know who's going to be at quarterback tonight. And if you're wondering if I know, well, the huddle has Charles Wright and Hudson Card in it. And then they trot Hudson Card out there, and he has a magnificent game for the Longhorns. And UTSA was a game ball club for that first 30 minutes. Absolutely.
Took the lead. Texas had to, when it's 17-7, UTSA at one point, Texas had to come from behind and then poured it on. So they now, that's 3 home games for Texas, and they got to go on the road to Lubbock this week.
It's a lot different when you got to get on the plane and go somewhere.
Right. And to Lubbock? What do you think the reception's going to be there?
If you know what Tech thinks of Texas, that's going to be a fun game as a fan on Saturday.
Exactly. Joey McGuire was asked this week at his press conference, what do you know about the Texas Tech rivalry? And he, kind of gave all the answers that you would think. And then he said, we're going to be ready.
We're going to be ready.
Yeah.
That's the classic Joey McGuire answer there, too.
Yeah.
You look at this week's slate. Baylor's got Iowa State to open Big 12 play. Let's go through our 3 big keys. You can. I'll let you go first.
Okay.
As Baylor goes on the road, that's an 11 a.m. kick Saturday on ESPN2.
Yep. First thing I would say is continue to establish your identity. I think they took a big step forward against Texas State.
Okay.
Ran the ball well, and I thought we saw some real signs of, what do you call it, maturity, growth, whatever, in the wide zone offense last week against Texas State, even factoring in the opponent. But now, it's another step up against a really good team in Iowa State and on their home field. So I think continued progress there in the run game, in the wide zone offense. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. My first one's weather the storm. I mean, I said the same thing before the BYU game, and a lot of it rings true. When you're on the road, things happen. Sometimes weird plays happen in atmospheres. I mean, we used to call it, when I was in school at Oklahoma State, we used to call it Trice Magic because Hilton Magic is very much a thing in basketball.
Yeah.
And weird things happen at Jack Trice Stadium in football as well. So you have to weather the storm. You're going to have penalties. It's going to be a loud game. Iowa State fans are some of the most faithful in college football, no matter how good the team is. You can't have 14 of them, and you can't have more than a field's length in penalties.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to weather the storm and adapt to a loud environment. And from talking to the players this week in the Baylor locker room, it seems like they have figured out, okay, BYU opened our eyes to a few things. I think and I think they're a little bit more prepared for it this week than they were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's hopefully what you get out of an experience in a game like playing at BYU, because, again, look at the road venues Baylor's got to play in this year.
Yeah.
This is another really tough one. Have you been there? Have you been to Ames?
I have not been to Ames.
Okay.
I'm very jealous that Matt gets to go this week.
Oh, you're not going. Here's the thing to watch for, Matt. Here's the thing to watch for. Those people are tailgaters deluxe. They just are all over the place tailgating, to the point that they run a fire engine around the stadium blowing its horn, siren, and that's the signal, hey, you got to quit tailgating. You got to get into the stadium. And then everybody in the last, 20, 30 minutes pours into the stadium and they fill it up.
That is amazing.
It's great. I mean, it's a great atmosphere. The tailgating is unbelievable, but then they all come inside and they fill it up, and it is a really tough place to play.
I'm absolutely having Matt shoot that. Matt, if you're watching, shoot that, please.
Yeah.
That is fun. What's your second key?
Second key for me, Baylor needs to find a way to create turnovers. You know, we're only +2 in takeaways, one against Albany and one against Texas State. And remember last year, that veteran Baylor defense especially was really good at creating turnovers. And that's a huge factor, and was a huge factor last year. So what are we? I guess we're -1 in the net through 3 games, but only 2 takeaways through 3 games. And, you know, against Iowa State, you don't want to commit any mistakes. Nope. You don't want to hand them the ball because they would feast on that. So if Baylor can find a way to create takeaways, be plus in that category, I think that'd be a huge step forward.
Matt Campbell's such a passionate coach that any little bit of momentum that his team gets, they just feed off of that. And it just kind of snowballs in his team's favor. It's kind of what happened 2 years ago, the last time Baylor went to Ames, and that was a very different Baylor team. My second key is the defensive line. You have to pressure Hunter Dekkers. He's a first-year starting quarterback. You have to give your starting quarterback a little bit of an edge when you have 2 brand-new starters going head-to-head like you do with Blake Shapen and Hunter Dekkers. And I think that if Apu can get into some gaps and get some pressure on Hunter Dekkers, whether he gets to make the tackle in the backfield or not.
Right.
I think if you get if you can get pressure that way, Apu, Jackson Player, whoever it is up front, TJ Franklin, that can be a huge key that you can just build on from there and can give the offensive line not only a break with them being on the sideline, but some confidence as they come back onto the field. Our D-line has us. We need to have them.
Yeah, very good. To go a different direction, I completely agree with that about the defensive front. And Apu, man, he is coming on. That is fun to see. And TJ Franklin playing really well also. Baylor may have to play without, we don't know, but may have to play without Cole Maxwell again this week. So those guys will have plenty of opportunities. So my third one would be special teams. You know, if this is a close game, special teams on the road could be really big. We've been good there, missed an extra point kick at BYU, changed kickers. John Mayers is now the kicker, the #1 kicker for Baylor. He's been good. But Isaac Power has been really good. Noah Rauschenberg kicking off has been good. We've got 1 punt return for a touchdown already by Gavin Holmes and a blocked field goal attempt by TJ Franklin last week. So I think we've been really good in special teams, and I think that can be that could be a game winner for you, if you do something big in special teams.
It could be. You could argue it's what cost Baylor the game in regulation at BYU.
Yeah.
A missed field goal, a missed PAT, and it's why, nobody was really surprised, but I just wasn't necessarily expecting the change to happen that quickly into the season where Hankins is out, John Mayers is back in, and the Sideburns are back kicking PATs.
That's right.
And field goals, and he did a nice job in that role against Texas State. My final key is you took mine with the kicking game.
Oh, so sorry. It can be the same thing.
I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with the next man up, with the running back room.
Yeah.
Tay McWilliams is probably still out. Dave Aranda said after the game Saturday, a lot of head injuries from that BYU game. It's why he didn't name names on who had what. That said, when we asked about some players, explicitly Tay McWilliams, explicitly Ben Sims, and guys like that.
Right, Monterey Baldwin.
Mm-hmm. He told us some of them he was hoping to have back for Saturday against Texas State, but it didn't work out that way, and he's confident they'll be back this week for Iowa State. One of those was Cole Maxwell. Then he said there's some head injury, so they have to pass some tests. But now it's looking like Maxwell might be out this week too. No update yet on Tay McWilliams. But you can't, injuries happen in football. You saw what Richard Reese can do. I don't think he's going to go for 17 carries for 156 yards and 3 scores against Iowa State, but can he keep drives alive? In Ames, with a better team than Texas State was last weekend. So to me, the running back room is key number 3, particularly in response to Tay McWilliams being out. Quillin Jones played very limitedly on Saturday against Texas State. Is he back to snuff? Can he come out and get those physical third down runs that the Bears desperately need?
Yeah, I think I don't know this for a fact, but I think Quillin Jones will be more involved this week, and they've just got to find a way, because in that wide zone, you've just got to find a way to consistently run the ball.
And it's a good thing to me, and I want to see if you feel the same way. They wanted to pass it more this season. It's why they made that change. But the fact that they can turn to the run, that's a good thing to me.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think at his core. Jeff Grimes and Coach Aranda, I think at their core they want to run the ball and they want to play good defense. Those are almost the two main tenets, and play clean football. So, yeah, they definitely want to run the ball, but they've got the option of the pass now much more this year, I think, than last year with Blake Shapen.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. So we're into the 4th week, first full week of Big 12 conference play. Yeah. We've got 9 teams in action. Oklahoma State is the team on its open week. TCU is coming off of its open week for the Battle of the Iron Skillet.
There's some good games this week.
There's some really good games.
There are.
You want to get into a Week 4 preview?
Yeah, come on. Let's do it.
So we start, ladies and gentlemen, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, Thursday night.
Thursday night, right.
In Blacksburg, Virginia. The second Thursday night game in the first 4 weeks for the West Virginia Mountaineers as they head to another rival in the Virginia Tech Hokies. And I don't know who scheduled this on a 5-day turnaround, but I'm sure Neil Brown would like a word.
Exactly. Yeah, tough schedule. And, they played Pitt on a Thursday night to open the season. Towson last week, now Virginia Tech, and they'll play Baylor on a Thursday night. So they're the kings of Thursday night. But a quick turnaround for them against a rival, a traditional rival like Virginia Tech. So that's a tough game on the road in Blacksburg. They beat them last year in Morgantown. So this will be a really good test for West Virginia.
West Virginia, part of we'll call it a season of unfortunate events that led to Justin Fuentes firing at Virginia Tech. You have to take advantage of the fact that Virginia Tech is a team bringing in a new coach and a new system and trying to work through all of that in this game. I think West Virginia can do it. You could win a lot of grace back from the fan base after losing to Pitt and Kansas by beating Virginia Tech on the road.
Yeah.
If you're Neil Brown.
Yeah, very much so. So, yeah, this would be a huge win. Big stage Thursday night, national television. So this is a big one for West Virginia.
We just broke. I'm taking West Virginia in that one. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Even on the road, I'll take West Virginia.
I think it's a close game.
Right.
I know that, and John doesn't know spreads.
Vegas don't know anything about that.
Vegas has West Virginia as a 1.5 favorite right now.
Mean? So, what does that mean, Curtis?
If that tells you anything on how close this game will be. Okay, so 17th ranked Baylor at Iowa State. We just broke it down. That's an 11 a.m. kick on ESPN2. I like Baylor in a close one, but you have to manage the penalties in this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Got to keep going the right direction there. A lot fewer penalties last week against Texas State than the week before. So it's gonna be the small things again. Yeah. Don't turn it over. Fewer penalties, maybe control the ball a little bit against them. Things like that are very basic things, but, those are the things that could give you a big win. Baylor hadn't won in Ames since 2016, so this is, it's not easy to win there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That would have been Matt Campbell's first season at Iowa State. First or second?
Probably. This is his 7th season, so it might have been his first season. Yeah.
This is my 7th season covering Baylor, so that math would check out.
You and Coach Campbell, yeah.
Yeah. Our timelines are very similar. Our jobs are very not. 11 a.m. on ESPNU. It's the battle for the Iron Skillet, and I wonder if there's any storylines in this game as TCU travels east to face the SMU Mustangs. And
does the head coach know anything about both schools?
I'm starting to wonder. I think Rhett Lashley, it's easy to get his guys out of bed for this one against the guy who he was introduced to replace before he was announced to even be leaving the job to go to TCU.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good rivalry to start with.
Right.
And then you just throw that on the fire, so this could be really fun to see.
I like SMU in this one. I think TCU still has a little bit of work to do, and I think if you look at SMU's resume, it might be just a slight bit above TCU at this point in the season. But, man, the storylines in this game.
Yeah.
If I'm College Game Day, I'm picking it, but I'm a Big 12 guy.
Right. No, that'll be fun. I'll take TCU, okay? And the week off maybe helps them. They got a little extra time to prepare and rest and get everybody back healthy. So this will be fun to watch. One of 3 games. What do we have? 6 games on Saturday, and 3 of them are at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Kicking at the same time.
5 games, 3 at 11, 3 at 11 a.m., and then a 2:30 and a 7.
Yeah.
Speaking of 11 a.m., over on Fox Sports 1, and as I turn from you, College Game Day, still believe you guys are cowards for not going to this one. It is 3-0 Duke at 3-0 Kansas.
Right.
And yes, we are still talking about football.
Yeah, exactly. How about the note this week? Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, and who Kentucky are 3-0 in football. Never happened before.
Never.
Off to 3-0 starts.
I like Kansas in this game, but man, if there is anyone who can figure out a way, Mike Elko's one heck of a defensive coach, and he's got Duke humming now.
Yeah. This is in Lawrence, right?
In Lawrence.
Hopefully they can get some folks out there, and get the students out. Hey, we got these games before basketball begins. Come on, we need you out here at the stadium.
And it looks like they're going to be making some changes around David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium, hopefully to the stadium, because I've never had a door burn hair off of my arm until I went to Lawrence, Kansas last year, because the outside has that reflective metal sheet as you're going into the visitors' postgame room, and it was a hot day in Lawrence, and it singed the hair off my arm. I was shocked.
That's a good memory.
But I agree with you. I think when Kansas is good, this crowd will get into it, and this is the perfect time to get in on the ground floor. And it's a really, really good game and a really interesting storyline of 2 programs that have some history in football. Yes, in football. Yeah. With a chance to get back on the right footing after some years of struggles. I like Kansas in this game, though.
Yeah, I do too. Kansas at home. Just tell the students, hey, it's Kansas Duke. And they're going to say, all right, we'll be there,
Right.
And then hopefully they do have a good atmosphere and a good crowd.
2:30 p.m. God's time on ESPN. I wonder if there's any storylines here.
Yeah.
It is the 22nd ranked Texas Longhorns at 2-1, traveling to the South Plains to face the 2-1 Texas Tech Red Raiders, and the tortillas will be flying in Lubbock on Saturday.
And apparently there's been some issues with throwing bottles or something in Lubbock. Have you heard that?
I haven't, but I don't mean for this to come off as rudely as it's going to. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah, something like Coach McGuire on a couple of weeks' press conferences, including this week, is chastising the fans. Don't throw bottles,
Right.
And so apparently something has happened there. The tortillas, I think, are one thing.
Yeah.
But if you throw bottles, empty or full, that's not a good thing.
As a San Antonio native, I think throwing the tortilla on the football field is a waste of a perfectly good tortilla. But it's a fun tradition in Lubbock, and as far as the game itself, look, Tech is going to miss Bryce Ramirez in the middle.
Yeah, that's a tough loss. It really is. They're back home. Texas playing on the road for the first time, as we mentioned. So this could be a fun game.
This could be a game filled with some mistakes. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. I think Texas wins, but the only thing that surprises me in this game could be pleasantly for either team is if it's a blowout.
That's true. Yeah, I would think Texas is probably a better team right now, and that is just because it's a transition year for Texas Tech. But they've handled it really well so far, so I really look forward to this game.
Do we know a timeline on Quinn Ewers yet? I haven't seen anything from Austin.
I do not know. I haven't seen anything on that. What I did here earlier this week was up in the air. Same as last week.
Surprise.
Yeah.
And then the nightcap, 7 p.m. God's time in Norman. It is the 2-1 Kansas State Wildcats, who just broke my heart last weekend, and the 6th-rate 3-0 Oklahoma Sooners. And night games in Norman, but OU has not beat Kansas State since, was it 2019 or 2018?
Yeah, that's right.
It's been a while.
That's true. And imagine the build-up for this game if Kansas State had just taken care of business and beaten Tulane last week.
Right.
This would be a huge game nationally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This could have been not that this is the measuring stick for everything, but this could have been the college game day game.
Yeah, that's right.
Key for me on this one, Kansas State has to get back to basics, get back to what you did right against Missouri, get back to what you did right against South Dakota, and not the egg you laid against Tulane.
Right, I agree, and Chris Kleiman, I'm sure he's hammering that to his guys this week. So this is a with the start of the season, remember Kansas State was everybody's kind of sleeper pick,
right?
And you thought, early on they're going to play Oklahoma, that'll be a real test. Well, that's really the same. It is the conference opener for both of them.
Right, and Kansas State and Baylor are kind of in the same situation in that, yeah, they're disappointed. They lost a non-conference game that they would have really loved to win, and you could argue that going into the season they thought they should win. But everything is still on the table. You can lose a non-conference game, run the table in your conference, get to the college football playoff.
Sure, yeah.
Now, I like Oklahoma in this game. Dylan Gabriel's been electric in non-conference play. Granted, this is a huge step up for the Sooners in a level of competition, but he's been magnificent in that defense with Brent Venables as the head coach. I'm never going to doubt it.
Yeah. I have not seen enough to not pick Oklahoma in this game.
I agree.
Yeah. So I think they're really good. We knew that going into the season. I think Kansas State's really good, but I would pick Oklahoma head-to-head.
And there you have it, the Week 4 preview on the Big 12 Breakdown on 6 News, our streaming platforms, and 6 Plus on your Roku and Fire Stick. John, enjoy Ames.
Thank you. Can we do weather while we're out here?
Apparently.
Tell everybody how warm it is.
Andy, it's hot.
Andy. Enough of the hundreds. Ames on Saturday, 75 degrees and sunny. Low on Friday night of 49.
So you're flying up, Thursday to enjoy it?
As soon as we finish here, I'm leaving.
For John Morris, I'm Kurtis Quillin. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place on the Big 12 Breakdown.